Welcome into another episode of Betting the Pitch. This is episode number 230 with the real_G Warner on Twitter. And today we are going over the weekend soccer schedule across the top five European soccer leagues: English Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, the Bundesliga, and last but not least, Ligue 1, which you could argue is sixth behind, I believe, the Eredivisie, but it is what it is. Hard to watch the Dutch soccer world still here in the United States. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave a 5-star review. It'd be really helpful to get me up the search rankings. If you are on YouTube, please hit subscribe, as we are trying to get as many subscribers there as possible. And if you're not a member of my Patreon just yet, check out becoming a patron at patreon.com. Just the real_G Warner. Best place to get all your access to me, my picks as they come out, as I lock things in, as I add write-ups, as I do all those sort of things. And I know that anyone over there, I think, has been, we've certainly gone through some growing pains, but I think everyone over there is very happy with what we're doing now. Always open to suggestions and how to change things potentially to make it better for the patron, user, subscriber, whatever you want to be known as. So check that out, patreon.com/the real_G Warner. All lines quoted in this podcast are courtesy of BetOnline.ag, my favorite place to get my bets down early. Reduced use is offered on almost every game you want to bet, right up until game time. Please follow the link found in the podcast description to fund your account and use the promo code GW50 to receive a 50% match bonus up to $1,000. And if you already are at BetOnline, I think it's mainly for first depositors. You try it on a reload, but if you're already there and have flush accounts, try to check out another link below it to sportsbetting.ag. The GW50 sign-up bonus should work there as well. So make sure you throw that in there when you're either first time depositing either of the sites or potentially on a reload. GW50 to get a 50% match bonus. So let's go now to the English Premier League, because that's where the money is. And I will have an ultimate best bet coming end of show, summary with a best pick from each of the leagues that we're covering, and then we'll chop it into one. So we'll start in England. We have all Saturday matches this weekend. Luton Town hosts Tottenham off of a midweek match. Brutal home loss to Burnley, especially after a late equalizer and then conceding right afterwards. But Luton, a 1.25 goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over unders 3.25, juiced all the way to under. Potentially going to see this hit 3. I wouldn't be shocked by that type of movement. And it probably makes a little bit of sense, to be frank, based on how weak the Luton Town offense has been this season. Tottenham not playing any European soccer this year, pretty much is just focused on the league, which should help them a lot. And they're going to be pretty gung-ho going forward, especially after the big win against Liverpool last weekend, which was not without controversy, but it is the soccer world we live in. And I'm going to try not to talk about referees, because they are honestly the amount of money I've lost from referee decisions that are inexplicable just is driving me insane. And I don't want to tabulate it, calculate it. I don't want to tap it up, is pretty much where I sit. Luton Town, my biggest interest in this one is to under 3.25. I don't know that I want to back Luton Town, which does limit my interest in the under, certainly, because they're going to be defending for a lot of this game. Tottenham are going to be on the front foot. They're going to be aggressive. They're going to play orange ball, and they're going to be down the throat of Luton Town, essentially off of on shorter rest, which is a concern. And I'm really not sure that the home crowd is going to be enough to build that up. So lean to under. I guess I lean to Luton Town because it's bigger than I made it, but it makes sense based on short rest and that tough loss on Tuesday. Fulham then hosts Sheffield United, battle of teams that cannot score. So I lean under, no surprise. Fulham, a 3/4 goal favorite at home with all the juice. Over unders 2.5, juice to the under. All the juice on 3/4 could potentially see this climb to 1. I'm not going to guess that happens, but it may actually. Sheffield United haven't looked good, did have an under after they gave up 8 goals to Newcastle last weekend, which was much needed for your boy and for all of us following along. So that was good. I think Sheffield are in a similar situation here. They're going to defend like crazy. And I think there is some light at the end of the tunnel for Sheffield, because they're facing a Fulham team that really can't score. Fulham have been a great underside unless they're making big defensive mistakes, which happens from time to time, but their defense has been pretty good, pretty disappointing on Monday at home to Chelsea, but I guess they can't beat Chelsea every time they play them. My biggest interest here is Sheffield under 2.5. I think Maybe at +1, I'm a little more interested in the road dog as well. But until that happens, I'm not going to speculate and say I want it. And honestly, I think the under is a lot more comforting at least at this point, based on really both teams that struggle to score. Manchester United then host Brentford. Currently, United a 3/4 goal favorite with more juice on Brentford on the road. Over unders 2 3/4, juiced slightly to over. This is one hasn't really been moving as much as I thought it might. I guess I was hoping that Brentford would climb to a 1-goal underdog when I first saw this line. That's clearly going the other way. I think based on poor performances, really you can pick them anywhere. Premier League last weekend, losing to Crystal Palace, not scoring. And then the debacle that was Galatasaray in Champions League midweek. Brentford didn't have a great result themselves, playing against 10 men for a long time on the road at Nottingham Forest. I guess a point at a really tough home venue is not the worst in the world. But Brentford really just haven't been playing great. The nice part is they get a bad form, bad culture, bad juju, whatever you want to call it. Everything is bad at Manchester United right now. Their defense is a joke. Sofian Amrabat playing left back, I don't know if he's ever played in his career, is honestly hilarious at this point. And certainly Manchester United are not doing it because they want to. But I don't really know what to do with this total here. I generally lean under in Brentford games, and also kind of now with Manchester United and their struggles to find the net. But this certainly could be a game where Manchester United wakes up, but they have to wake up and win by 2 goals to take our full unit. So Brentford getting 3/4 of the goal seems like a play that I think they're going to play better eventually. It's been a pretty bad slog, had a pretty easy start to the season, and really been throwing points away left and right, taking leads and not holding on to them. The nice part, if they take a lead and draw here, you do get a full win or from whatever you're risking based on a normal bet in what you're playing. So, and I think a single goal loss is possible, and you only lose half your unit there, or half your risk. So I'm pretty interested in Brentford getting 3/4. Burnley then hosts Chelsea. Currently, Burnley a 3/4 goal underdog at home with almost all the juice. Over unders 2 3/4. Juice very heavily to under, which I think makes a lot of sense. That one has been, I guess, actually the under is getting a little bit cheaper, which is very nice. I'm looking forward to that. In terms of the side, hasn't moved too much, just a cent either way. I lean to Burnley at home. It is going to be a little bit of a challenge for them. Again, similar situation to Luton Town, having to play on shorter rest against a bigger club. But Chelsea, I mean, I'm not treating them like a big club until they prove it. A couple wins in the last few weeks has been nice, but it still doesn't scare me away from their unders, which I lean to here, and also to really fading them as a road favorite because I don't believe in them whatsoever. Yes, maybe a couple wins is adding some confidence and making them play better, but it's not really enough. There's still so much to prove for Chelsea, in my humble opinion. Everton then hosts Bournemouth. Currently, Everton a half a goal favorite at home with more of the juice on Bournemouth. Over under is 2 3/4, juiced almost all the way to under. Another situation here where I don't really see a lot of goals in this one. It hasn't been going great for me lately with Everton because they have been more of an over team than I could have probably ever expected. I still don't really trust them to score goals, and they're going to host, Bournemouth, who are going to try to counterattack the whole time. So Everton, who doesn't really want the ball, or don't really want the ball, Bournemouth, who do not want the ball. It's two teams that really aren't going to do too much offensively, I don't think. So I do like the idea of potentially looking at under 2 3/4. I like that a lot more than I like Bournemouth at this point. I think I generally want to have both an under lean and if I want to play under, but I think there's plenty of room, especially with needing 3 goals to lose only half of your unit, needing 4 goals to beat me entirely. I think there's a good chance that we see a low scoring match there. And the nightcap on Saturday, it looks like Crystal Palace hosting Nottingham Forest. Crystal Palace, a quarter goal favorite at home with more of the juice. Over under is 2, juice all the way to over. That one's been jockeying back and forth from 2 1/4. I imagine that probably settles there, though. Who knows? I mean, it's getting a lot of odds right now on under 2. I wouldn't recommend, if you're looking at under there, I wouldn't recommend playing under 2. I'd wait for 2 1/4, or potentially pay up if you have that offered at your book. Certainly with totals, I'm not really that willing to pay big prices, especially just to get a quarter of a goal up to 2 1/4. So it might be one of those you wait for. Crystal Palace, I've not been impressed by their offense in a long time, really. If Eze isn't really doing everything, then they're not a lot. I mean, set pieces, scored from a corner kick to beat Manchester United, and then really batten down the hatches defensively. I think that sort of same thing is going to happen. Nottingham Forest under Steve Cooper have been a lot more defensive on the road, counterattacking style. A little bit more aggressive, I think, at home, and that's really what kept them up last season. But without the 2.25 right now, I'm not going to recommend it. Moving to Sunday, we have Wolves hosting Aston Villa. Currently, Wolves a quarter goal underdog at home. All the juice on Aston Villa on the road. Over unders 2.75 with all the juice to under. Aston Villa having to play midweek, that's a concern. Wolves coming off a big upset victory of Manchester City, also a concern. I don't really know that I believe in Wolves to keep this up. They've been playing better lately, but I think I'm still in a camp that they're going to be a really tough. Or it's going to be really tough for them to find the net. So if that's the case, on a home dog who should be getting a more weary Aston Villa, considering they played on Thursday in the Europa League, where Wolves or Europa Conference League, one of the two, were huge favorites, but still had to play, travel, and all that sort of stuff. Wolves should be better rested. I expect them to put a really good performance in at home. So I like that under 2.75, and I guess I like the quarter of a goal as well on the side. Next we'll go to West Ham hosting Newcastle. West Ham a quarter goal underdog at home. All the juice on Newcastle on the road. Over unders 2.75, juiced to over. West Ham coming off a trip to Germany. Newcastle with a home victory over PSG. Another ridiculous refereeing decision, not disallowing a goal and a clear handball occurred. But why would I expect refs to actually do anything within the laws that they're supposed to know? West Ham, they had a tough trip to Germany, I'm coming off a really physical match with Freiburg. They're going to be in a tough position again now, facing an even more physical or arguably similar physical side like Newcastle. The nice part is at home, I think you get away with less physically just across all sports. So that's probably good for West Ham. I still don't really know that I believe in West Ham's offense, though it's got off to a great start this season. Can't argue with that. I think my biggest interests here are both to under and to under 2.75, which we might be able to get a 3 by the time this kicks off. That would be surprising to me, but I wouldn't complain. Next, go to Brighton hosting Liverpool, currently a half a goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over unders 3.5, juice to over. You can save, 2 suspensions for Liverpool that they have to deal with in this one, but not the biggest players to worry about. I think from a Brighton perspective, having to go to Marseille during the week, but closing a favorite, was pretty respectful. Didn't get off to a good start, fell behind 2-0. Liverpool on the other side are playing European football on Thursdays this year, and they probably have a lot to potentially moan about, and probably will be in a very angry type of space going into this matchup. Does that mean they throw an extra into tackles? I would guess not, because they don't want to get anyone sent off, though I imagine the referees will be a lot more lenient on Liverpool. That's certainly helpful as a road team. From a Brighton perspective, I haven't really liked them ever since they started playing Europe, or just playing multiple games a week. I think that's been a problem that De Zerbi has not really solved just yet. Getting a half of a goal at home from a Liverpool side who might be weary, having played in Europe on Thursday, that does interest me there. And I think I would probably be interested in under 3.5, but both these teams I consider over variety. So I'm not looking to expand on that one. And last but not least, the big match of the season, potentially Arsenal hosting Manchester City. This is Arsenal's chance to prove that they are going to be in this title race. It hasn't looked good. The loss midweek to Lens in France on the road was not great, but it was a really tough place to play. I'm really sad I almost locked that in, but never got close enough to hitting submit, unfortunately, and the time ran out. But Man City on the other side with a late victory had a really tough matchup with Leipzig on the road in Germany. So both these teams coming off road matches. Manchester City goes straight to London probably, and then straight over to Arsenal, where Arsenal at least gets to sleep in their own beds. That's an advantage. But Arsenal only a quarter goal underdog at home doesn't feel big enough for me. They haven't been very competitive in this series over the last few seasons. Manchester City still, they look like the team to beat. From what was a pick'em earlier, has climbed a quarter of a goal favorite on the road, which is really not my cup of tea. If anyone follows these things, as you would know, but I just don't think I really want anything to do with Arsenal, even as a home dog. I think they certainly could draw this matchup, but so I guess I'll put it on the list as potentials, but I would like to stay away from them because I just haven't really been a believer in Arsenal, even when they're leading the Premier League last season. So when I look at best bets for England, I'm going to go with the under 2.75, Burnley, Chelsea. that's one that it's hard for me to get away from that. I think that's a good position to be in. And I think Burnley at home are going to really have a good effort behind them to try to keep Chelsea out of the net. Now we move to Spain and La Liga. We have Cadiz hosting Girona in the first match on Saturday. Cadiz only a quarter goal underdog at home, despite Girona potentially going top last week if they'd gotten a result against Real Madrid. Over-under is 2.5, juiced slightly to under. Cadiz, they've been a good defensive team for a while. They've improved their offense. They're a much better side than they were when they entered La Liga, and that's what happens after you get a little bit more money. You can spend it over 3 seasons. This is the ultimate, like, if you are backing Cadiz here, you are saying that Girona are potentially coming back down to earth. I think that's reasonable based on their hot start to the season, and especially falling behind in games, coming back and still winning them like they did just recently midweek at Villarreal. They had a pretty tough performance against Real Madrid, could have been up 2-0 in the first 4 or 5 minutes, and then ended up losing 3-0 the other way because they weren't able to find the net. Girona have better offense. They're going to put Cadiz likely without most of the possession on their back foot, hanging inside their zone. I still think I'm interested, though, in the home dog and the under. So Cadiz getting a quarter of a goal at home, and then under 2.5 are my leans in that one. Next, we'll go to Real Madrid hosting Osasuna. Currently, Real Madrid a 1.5 goal favorite at home. Over under is 3. More juice on Osasuna on the road, and also very juiced under right now. I think my biggest interest here is Osasuna under 3. It's a correlated, I guess, bet to also backing Osasuna getting a goal and a half. Bigger spread than I expected. Haven't really gotten off to a great start this season, have Osasuna, but they did play pretty well in their last matchup, winning on the road. I think it's about exactly where I made the spread at 1.5, but the total is a lot higher than I expected. I'm still not a believer in Real Madrid's offense. Yes, they went over against Napoli midweek, but some of that you could say was due to some really awful goalkeeping and a penalty that was really suspicious. Unfortunately, I guess I need to handicap one ridiculous penalty or bad decision that's going to happen that shouldn't in these matches, because they're usually responsible for a goal every 90 minutes. And so it's almost like you're playing under 2 here, which is a little bit difficult. But I just think Osasuna, they're going to play. This is a rematch of the Copa del Rey final from last season. Osasuna were in that match, I think lost 2-1, got an equalizer, and then Real Madrid ended up scoring late. But I think in this situation, Osasuna are going to go. They're going to defend like crazy, at the international break coming. So I expect Real Madrid, coming off a trip to Napoli, now are going to be playing at home. Yes, the Bernabeu. Yes, it should help. But Osasuna will really use that leg advantage to try to keep this as low scoring as possible. And I just don't really see an Osasuna route to goals, though Real Madrid certainly have defensive issues. And maybe that's why we see a 3 here. Mallorca then hosts Valencia. Currently, Mallorca, a quarter goal favorite at home with all the juice on Valencia. Over under is 2, a little bit juiced to over. Mallorca with a really good performance after starting the year so poorly against Barcelona, and then ultimately winning last weekend, or I think giving up a late penalty to equalize on the road at Rayo is maybe what happened, but still cover the spread fully. So I guess I wasn't so worried about a late penalty and then a retake late. Mallorca are not really a favorite that I'm looking to back at this point. So I'm looking right now at Valencia. I think at the quarter of a goal, it's on my list. I don't love Valencia at all. They're a team I'm actually looking to bet against as much as I can. The total is 2 right now. I think I'm most interested if that climbed to 2.25 to potentially go under, but I don't have that yet, so I can't advocate it. Sevilla then hosts Rayo Vallecano, and if you're a patron or stay tuned to patreon.com/real_G Warner. As things move, I tend to update my leans, so check that out. Sevilla then hosts Rayo Vallecano in the nightcap on Saturday, coming off a pretty good performance in their midweek match, which I think actually did get equalized at the end, but still a road draw. Getting 2 points in 2 matches, not great, but it will certainly put them on pace to finish in the Europa League, which they'll probably win again and get a ridiculous Champions League berth, which they don't deserve. But anyways, we'll talk here about La Liga play. Sevilla, half a goal favorite at home to Rayo Vallecano. Over under is 2.5, juice very much to the under. Looks like 2.25 is coming quickly. From this position, I'm most interested in Rayo and under. I feel like Sevilla have been playing a lot more defensively under Mendilibar, which I was not expecting. It certainly happens when they play bigger teams, and that's been working out because they've been having a pretty tough schedule lately. Rayo's, meanwhile, sitting at home, have not been the same team on the road for years now, but ultimately they do have a rest advantage, especially with Sevilla having to go to Holland for their match. So that's a good position to be in. I've taken the train from Madrid to Sevilla. It's like 2 hours. So if they're even doing that, it's probably not too taxing. Whereas Sevilla had to fly back from another country. So I guess European flights are not that long, but regardless, my interest there to Rayo, I'm a little bit. I'm interested in selling Rayo as a favorite this year. Haven't had a lot of opportunities for that, and we'll have plenty as an underdog on the road to potentially back them, which does potentially cause some concern. But the new manager has been not as good as Andoni Iraola, who left for Bournemouth. But for now, I'm still interested in being against Sevilla. So I like that half of a goal they're giving, and I like that under 2.5 as currently constructed. Moving to Sunday, Villarreal hosts Las Palmas. Villarreal 1-goal favorite coming off a late match against Rennes at home in the Europa League. Las Palmas, they had another late comeback, equalizer, and then game winner. And that seems to be the way Las Palmas are winning. A lot from goals from the penalty spot and not much else. Though with that said, I'm still interested again. I really want to be against Villarreal as much as I can. So that +1, that goal of insurance is really valuable. It's probably a minimum for me here just because Villarreal, we know they can score goals, though they haven't been as good at that this year. I just think there's some holes in that Villarreal team. And ultimately, unless Gerard Moreno is healthy, their offense has been non-existent without him over the past few seasons. I don't have any reason to believe he won't be in this matchup. But it's one of those things where they're trying to keep him in cotton wool, trying to keep him as safe as possible. And that might mean he's out of there at an earlier time than expected. And Las Palmas have been a godsend for under. If not for a late goal that was kind of crazy a couple times so far this season, that was how they got their 2 wins. But without those, they haven't scored from open play. And I wouldn't expect that to change necessarily. It seems like long shots is really how they're scoring, and that's not good for overs, and it's actually really good for unders. Next, go to Atletico Madrid hosting Real Sociedad, both off of Champions League play, and this is a pretty big one. Atleti, a half-a-goal favorite at home, more juice on Sociedad. Over-unders 2.25, juiced over. Atleti are just, had 2 offside goals that were given. One was taken away and then given after VAR. Wrong, and then ultimately Antoine Griezmann was interfering with a cross in the box. It's amazing to me how these big teams especially get away with things. I totally understand why everyone thinks that Barcelona has been getting calls for a long time. I guess they're paying officials too, which is a little bit disappointing to say the least, but I guess I'll move on from that. Real Sociedad would be the side I want to back here. I'm a little concerned for them coming off. They're balancing a lot of play right here in Champions League. I guess Atleti are doing the same thing. But I think from my perspective, Real Sociedad, actually at a half of a goal, what am I saying? I think Sociedad could certainly go on the road and draw at Atleti. I'm not as scared at Atletico Madrid. They're certainly a team, as we saw, even against Feyenoord in Champions League. They're up a goal second half. They're packing it in as much as they can and trying to make you beat them. Real Sociedad certainly have the talent to do such a thing. They against the lower parts of Spain, they are certainly used to facing a low block. So I guess I'm still interested in that half of a goal. So I'll put that back on there as I was taking it off. Celta Vigo then hosts Getafe. Currently Celta a half a goal favorite at home, which is banana land to me against anybody. All the juice on Getafe right now. So maybe this falls to a quarter, which it should. Over under is 2, juice slightly to over. I'm looking to see if an under pops up here, but for now I'll put Getafe on my list, getting a half of a goal. I don't love that. I don't think they can score really efficiently at all. Neither of these teams can, though. And so that's one way to bet against Celta de Vigo if you don't want to take that under 2, which is still not even getting odds. We might not even get a 2.25. Alaves then hosts Betis, same window, I guess, but Alaves a pick 'em right now. Juice is split both ways. Betis coming off a European voyage, though I think they're at home. But now they got to climb up all the way to the top in Basque Country in Spain. And Alaves in Vitoria, they are over under is 2, all the way over juiced right now. So potentially getting us a 2.25, which that's what I'm looking for. Don't have it yet. Games at pick 'em, so I can't add it to the list because I'm trying to do it based on current lines. But I'll be looking to see if that Betis number climbs to 2.25 because I don't think that the Betis offense has been very good this year. And I don't think the Alaves offense is really going to threaten much. So under 2.25 looks decent to me there if it gets there. And last but not least, Granada hosts Barcelona. Currently Granada a 1.25 goal underdog at home. More juice, almost all of it on Barcelona right now. Potentially going to see a 1.5 goal favorite. Over under is 3.25, juice to under, but that might even reverse as well. Granada have not been at the races this season. Had a huge comeback draw from 3-0 down at Almeria, but being down 3-0 to the bottom side in La Liga is never a good sign. Barcelona coming off ridiculous handball that was given and then ungiven. I just like, I don't even know where to start. It's amazing again how much money it seems like is changing hands over these ridiculously bad calls that just should not stand up. But it is what it is, and all you can do is push forward and pretend it never happened and ultimately pay your bookie or whatever we're doing. I don't know that there's a situation where we want to back Granada. I think Barca unders have been good, but that train fell off the track most recently until this midweek match in Champions League. Granada on the other side, they're not a good defense. Their offense has been weak, so it's hard to stay up with Barcelona and just hard to trust them, even playing a lot of defense, because ultimately under Diego Lopez, if he's still their manager, I haven't seen that news on him switching, but if he is, then that's probably not a great thing for under there either. So for my best bet from Spain, I'm gonna go with there's I think Cadiz is probably sensible because I do like under on a home dog, and I like the home point spread as well. But I think ultimately I'm gonna go with, it's a little bit surprising, but I'll go with I almost just said Valencia. I don't think I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna go with Cadiz under 2.5. I just feel like that is a little bit safer than certainly backing Valencia on the road. Though the future is bright for them. I'm just not sure the future is right now. Moving to Italy for Serie A, we have Inter Milan hosting Bologna, the early one on Saturday. Inter, a 1.25 goal favorite at home. Over under is 3, juiced all the way to under. Bologna is an under team. Inter Milan are not. They score a ton of goals and are really scary if you want to play an under with them. I think my only interest here, yes, Bologna getting a goal and a quarter is nice. It might get to goal and a half before it kicks off. I'm not expecting a hat trick again from Orsolini, who's been on the bench a lot of this season. He probably will start after scoring 3 goals, especially a late one that in stoppage time that killed my under on Sunday. But who's gonna remember that, I guess, besides all of us who are on it. But ultimately, I think Bologna are going to still return back to this struggling inability to score type of offense they've been running. The problem is Inter can get a lot themselves. I'll put under 3 on my list because it's bigger than what I made it, but I just don't know that that's going to be a likely finisher on my card. Next, we'll go to Juventus hosting Torino. Currently, big rivalry out in Turin. Or in Torino is probably the way I should be saying it. Juve, a half a goal favorite at home, a little bit more juice on Torino on the road. Over is 2, which is very low, and it is all the way juiced to over. Maybe we get a 2.25. I'll be waiting and looking out for that one. I don't know that I want to back Torino less than a goal because I don't trust them to score, but I am interested in that under 2 if we can get there. Genoa then hosts AC Milan. Genoa currently only a half a goal underdog at home with split juice both ways, and it seems like they are actually getting bet, which is maybe not surprising because they've been getting bet every match they've played. Should have won that last match against Udinese. Should have kept a clean sheet, in my opinion, as well. Late penalty and then a ridiculous 2-hand shove in the back that was not called in the box, that the end of the goal scorer getting the ball and kicking it in or heading it in, I think is the kick. But regardless, just another example, and I'm going to stop complaining about officials, but it's just really, it's hitting me only. I did get, to be fair, I did get the Tottenham goal that was supposed to be allowed that the VAR thought was called good, but it was actually offside. That was a nice one. Probably swung a match potentially, but there's been others that have swung it the other way. And I feel like I'm getting 20% of these calls at this point, which is really disappointing. Anywho, Genoa, half a goal underdog at home. I have no choice but to look at them. They've been awesome. They're getting a ton of goals from an Icelandic international. That's huge. And Milan coming off a tough trip to Dortmund midweek. That's going to be a tough thing to come back and now go on the road to Genoa and get a result. They have to win when you give away half of a goal on the road. That's generally how it works. And the totals have kind of fallen with Milan lately, which is, I think, saying something about their offense and maybe not being as strong as it once was earlier in the season. So Genoa, half of a goal is what I like right now. Moving to Sunday, we have Monza hosting Salernitana. Currently Monza, 3/4 goal favorite with almost all the juice. Over-unders 2.5 with almost all the juice as well. Salernitana really kind of waffling right now. They were pretty competitive with Inter despite a 4-0 loss last weekend. I almost feel like they deserve some credit for that. And maybe we get to +1, which should be saying something considering Monza are a much younger club in this Serie A. Monza have been great. They're going to go for it. They're going to be aggressive, which I think will give Salernitana a lot of chances, but ultimately, or at least chances for counterattacks. The problem is Salernitana get those a lot, and it's really hard to convert them, and they don't do it very often. I'm still, I think, interested in Salernitana, though. I feel like I would love to see them get to a 1-goal underdog. I don't know if we'll get there. And unfortunately, with Monza, it's really hard to play unders for them because they are going all out for 90 minutes. And that is never a good combination for under. We'll next go to Lazio hosting Atalanta. Currently, Lazio at Pick'em, a little more juice on Atalanta on the road. Over is 2.5 juiced all the way to the under. Which is surprising to see a match like between these two teams. At one point, they were big goal scoring sides. But now, since Maurizio Sarri took over, Lazio have tried to be more defensive. They got them second place last season, but certainly the season has not started out that well, and then had to play Celtic midweek on the road in Scotland, which is a fairly long trip for a European match to go from Italy and Rome specifically to Glasgow. But Atalanta had their own trip to Portugal on Thursday, so less rest. Feels like Lazio are not getting enough respect here. I'm certainly watching to see if they climb to an underdog. That might be a buy price for me ultimately at even money at Pick'em, just because the home draw would be a free movie. Essentially, you go to the movies, you would pay $20, but if you bet a game and get a push, that's technically a free movie. So, that's my theory there. Anyway, no real interest in under, though Atalanta's offense is certainly not the same it was a few seasons ago, but I think that puts me more towards backing Lazio at home instead of Atalanta. Frosinone then hosts Verona. Currently Frosinone a quarter goal favorite at home. All the juice on Verona on the road, potentially going to fall to pick them if I had to pick or guess. And I guess I just stop saying pick. Over unders 2.25, just a little bit to over. Frosinone, they've been pretty competitive lately. Gave up a late goal to Roma, or else they would have covered another spread, another in a row. I think Verona, their offense has been a disaster so far this season. Though I do think that they can give Frosinone some trouble because I don't really trust Frosinone as much to score. It's a real test here to see what Verona do. I think they will be more defensive because they know they can't score and have to protect their neck or net, or neck if you're a Wu-Tang fan. I do think that Frosinone are potentially better, especially at home. So this quarter goal favorite with even money right now doesn't really seem to fit them perfectly. So I feel like you're buying Verona at a price they really don't deserve. But I do like ultimately that under 2.25. So I'll put that on the list as a potential for Sunday. Cagliari then hosts Roma. Currently Cagliari a half a goal underdog at home. All the juice on Roma on the road. Over is 2.25. Juice hard to under almost all the way. Roma had midweek European action. Cagliari just haven't really been at the races so far to start this Serie A season calendar. I don't really know if there's more I want to say about them until they prove it. And unfortunately, even with an under last weekend, they conceded really late to blow that up as well. So I don't really want them as a side, despite being a home dog against questionable Roma at this point with potentially weary legs. But I don't know that I want much to do with that one. And last but not least, Napoli hosts Fiorentina and currently a 1-goal favorite. I'm not sure everything is fixed in Naples or in Napoli, and coming off a loss at home to Real Madrid, that's tough. Fiorentina, on the other hand, had to play later in the week, had to play a Thursday European match, so that's tough. Going on the road with weaker legs is a concern. Getting that 1 goal of insurance is pretty big, though, bigger than I made it ultimately. And so that does interest me a fair amount. I don't think I want anything to do with under 2.75. So it looks like it's very juiced right now, potentially hits 3 at that price. Maybe I'm a little bit more interested, but still probably staying away because I just don't see Napoli, despite playing an under on them midweek of Real Madrid. That was more of thinking that both those teams would be respectful of each other and kind of cancel each other out. I don't know that I really got there. So I will have to move that or remove that one from the list. And for my best bet in Italy, I'm going to go with Verona under 2.25 goals. I just think there's a really tough route to goals in that one. Moving now to Germany, we have Borussia Dortmund hosting Union Berlin, coming off their AC Milan goalless draw midweek. They get to stay home again, though, and they get Union Berlin, who had a really, really tough loss at home to Braga, late goal from Joao Moutinho. Currently Dortmund, a 1-goal favorite at home. All the juice on Union on the road. Over under is 2.75, juiced all the way to over. I can't help it. I'm really sad I lost out quarter of goal on Milan, or else I finally broken my streak of betting against Borussia Dortmund and not coming through. I'm tempted to get back onto it ultimately because I just don't believe in Dortmund whatsoever. Union Berlin, though, they've been having a really tough time. I can't. I think I need a 3 to play under. Union, I think, are going to just eventually scale back into their all-out defensive ways because they haven't really had much success trying to play more attacking football. They finally unleashed Geraldo Becker in midweek, but it wasn't enough, even though he got 2 goals. This number has been jockeying between 3 and 2 3/4. I think at this point, I'm interested in under, but I want to get a 3 before I play it. Dortmund, they don't have a good defense. They make big mistakes. Union have been scoring at a higher clip than I think you'd ever expect them to. But I guess I lean to Union and under if we do see that 3 pop up again. Augsburg then hosts Darmstadt. Currently, Augsburg a half a goal favorite at home. More of the juice over. There's 2 3/4 juice all the way to over. Seeing a price like this on Augsburg is gigantic. Darmstadt's coming off a big win last weekend, beating Werder Bremen, which isn't saying much. It's another relegation fighter, but now they're going on the road to a relegation fighter, and Augsburg have done nothing to impress really at all this season, I don't think. They're a team I want to be against, especially as a bigger than home field advantage type of favorite. Yes, Augsburg have stayed in the league and never really been threatened in the Bundesliga because they've been so good at home. But that's going to come to an end eventually. I feel like Darmstadt are worth a look right now, getting a half of a goal on the road. They've been scoring a lot. I don't know necessarily that that's as likely to occur on the road again. But though we might get a 3 here, which I feel like is still interesting to me. Honestly, I like both half of a goal and the under 2 3/4 right now. So that's usually a good sign. I find that I do a lot better when I'm liking an underdog and the under as well. Leipzig then hosts Bochum, coming off a really tough loss to Manchester City and potentially coming off a tough spot, having just played Bayern Munich as well, both at home, and they get to be at home again here. Amazing how the schedule works. But anyway, Leipzig at 1 3/4 goal favorite with more of the juice. Over under is 3.5, and it is juiced heavily to under. Almost all the juice on Leipzig's side, actually. Bochum on the other side, they're going to have the advantage of not having played two of the best, I guess, biggest favorites to win Champions League. So that's saying something. But Bochum have certainly not been great this year. They've been bad on the road, and Leipzig are really good at home. So that's not really something I think I want anything to do with either way. Yes, this is a big fixture overload, but I feel like Leipzig might be the sharpest they've been all season. We'll see what they look like in terms of who they're playing, who they start. Maybe Timo Werner comes back in the lineup. I guess it's big. It's a big total as well. Bochum are certainly going on the road trying to make this as low scoring as possible. Still, I mean, I guess it's bigger than I made it the total, that is, but I don't even know if I would necessarily want it. And this looks like it might hit 2 by the time it kicks off, but even then I don't think I want to deal with Bochum. Stuttgart then hosts Wolfsburg. Currently Stuttgart a half a goal favorite, all the juice on Wolfsburg on the road. Over unders 2 3/4, almost all the juice to the over. It's a big price. I still don't believe in Stuttgart, though they got off to a great start. Kind of feels a little bit like Girona, though Seru Guirassy has been about as hot as any striker in all of Europe. Stuttgart are finally delivering on years and years of talented expectations, but they're also facing one of the best teams in Bundesliga that aren't in the Champions League and things of that nature. I think Wolfsburg are a really good team. I think they're going to really cause a lot of problems for Stuttgart. I don't know that Stuttgart is necessarily an under team that I'm potentially looking for, but they certainly are. Trying to think of how the best way to describe it. I mean, they have scored a lot of goals, but do I expect that to continue? Not really. So I'm ultimately most interested, I think, in Wolfsburg getting a half of a goal. So they go on the road, get a draw, and will ultimately pay out your bet. But I think I'm also interested in under 2 3/4, and especially if that hits 3. So we'll see if that ends up happening. Next, we'll go to Werder Bremen hosting Hoffenheim in the nightcap. I don't know how this one became the top spiel, but it is big game or top game in the Bundesliga in Germany. Werder Bremen currently a pick'em, but all the juice on Hoffenheim on the road. Over unders 3 1/4, split juice both ways. Werder Bremen, they have not been able to defend at all this season. I've essentially thought they were just horrible, but I thought their defense would be a lot better than it has been. They've been shipping goals and not scoring enough. On the other side, Hoffenheim with a disastrous performance against Dortmund, gave up 2 goals and then basically quit on a 3rd goal, which is especially punishing for an under 3.5 that I had because they did get one back. I think under is where I lean in this one, ultimately, because 3.25 is gigantic, but that's really playing against the Werder Bremen offense, and I don't really have the opportunity to do that on the side. But Hoffenheim could go mad here. On the road at Werder Bremen, it'll be tougher to see them scoring a lot, so I guess that's why I should put it on my list. But sheesh, I'm looking to be against Werder Bremen in some way or fashion, really until they change my mind, which I think it will take a significant amount because they're lucky to be in this league, I think, at this point. But that's, I guess, my current interpretation of where they are and maybe where they'll be. Moving to Sunday, we have Bayer Leverkusen hosting Köln. Currently, Leverkusen a 1.5 goal favorite. Juice is split both ways. Over under 3.25. Juice pretty heavily to under. Leverkusen, one of the heartthrobs of the world right now. I'm not looking to bet against them with a Köln team that's really been struggling. As for the total, it's above 3, which is bigger than I made it. Köln are pretty good at using their counter press or pressing up the field to try to restrict the opposing offense. Unfortunately, they're not getting any goals. And as this gets more out of hand, it becomes even harder for this to stay under. Though I guess if anything, I like under 3.25. Next, we'll go to Bayern München hosting Sportclub Freiburg. Coming off a really physical match with West Ham at home, Freiburg now go to Munich, where they have not had great success, besides maybe a late goal to cover the spread from Jana Kabera, who's moved on to Union Berlin since. I think it's a gigantic price. I mean, for a team that's playing in Europa League, Freiburg are getting 2.25 goals right now on the road at Bayern München. They're also over under is 3.75. It's juiced to over. I mean, it's hard to fathom how these numbers are this big, and ultimately makes you want to just kind of go in and hold my breath, hold my nose, whatever you want to call it. But that's definitely I have some fear in seeing these numbers. The over under at 3.75, gigantic, especially because the Freiburg offense hasn't really been contributing much this season. I don't really think that's going to change necessarily, though Bayern München are certainly coming off a tough match they played in Copenhagen. Did get a late winner there, but I like Freiburg and under, but I'm going to try my best to stay away from fading Bayern München at this point, especially after winning against them last week. Don't want to try my luck twice in a row. Last but not least, Eintracht Frankfurt hosts Football Club Heidenheim. Currently, Eintracht a 3/4 goal favorite at home. Almost all the juice on Heidenheim on the road. Over under is 2.75. Juice to the over. Frankfurt have not been scoring at all this season, so I don't really see a reason to avoid an underlean, especially when 2.75 is above what I made it. From a side perspective, I guess I lean Heidenheim as well, but they're pretty juiced. I think I would want a full goal of insurance to really take that seriously. But Heidenheim with a really good performance last weekend, beating Union Berlin at home. So see if they can keep. I mean, they had a huge comeback against Borussia Dortmund earlier in the season. So I don't really see a reason necessarily to get too far away from this one. So I guess I do lean to both the road dog and the under, but probably like the under a little bit better. So for my best bet in Germany, I'm going to go with Wolfsburg getting half of a goal on the road at Stuttgart. Let's just say I'm not necessarily a believer in the run that Stuttgart are on. And let's go to Ligue 1 for the last one, and then we'll summarize it all and get you a best bet, get out of here, and start the weekend. If anyone of you are at the Cotton Bowl for the Red River Shootout, now called Red River Rivalry, easy to pronounce, been practicing. Check me out, look me up. I will be in the Texas side, probably in a white shirt, because orange does not go great with my coloring, unfortunately. But we'll go to Ligue 1 now. We have Metz hosting Nice on Saturday in the early one. Currently 3/4 goal underdog are Metz at home. Over under is 2.5, juiced a little bit to under. Nice have been off to a really good start this season, but as have Metz. Metz, the newly promoted, weren't expected, or not much was expected of them. I expect them to be more open actually this season, and they've been pretty good at scoring a goal and then really shutting down the opposing team, though getting a lot of chances themselves and kind of playing offense to protect their defense. Nice have been good, but this is a big price for them, especially on the road. I lean to under 2.5 as well. It's about what I made it, and it's a little bit juiced to under, so it's not like that huge of a value situation. But ultimately, I do like the home dog, and I think that kind of correlates pretty well with an under 2.5 play as well. Next, we'll go to Reims hosting Monaco, the nightcap on Saturday. Currently a pick'em, a little more juice on Monaco on the road. Over under is 3, juiced almost all the way to under. And Reims at this point are a team I'm looking to back. They've kind of proven it say what you want, and the haters, it's time to get quiet, because Will Still has been awesome, and it's been going on such a long time now that I'm interested in them. If they move to an underdog, maybe getting odds at home, I'll potentially look to playing that. Monaco are a really tough team for me to play unders with, though. I do like the 3. I think that's bigger than I made it. But Monaco are not a defensive side, and they're going to try to outscore everyone. Marseille then hosts Le Havre. Currently, Marseille 1-goal favorite at home with all the juice. Over unders 2 3/4, juice to the under. Bigger than I made it from the total, shorter than I made it for the side. Le Havre, I was really disappointed in their performance last week against a potentially tired Lille club playing a Tuesday match, and then really just kind of jumping on them early. Le Havre, I guess, started the match well, but couldn't score, and then gave up a goal a second and then a late third one. So I don't know that I trust them going to l'Orange Velodrome. It's going to be a really tough situation going against the Marseille crowd. Getting a little confidence from the performance against Brighton and the debut for Gennaro Gattuso. The number is not really where I'm looking for it right now, and I don't really want to play unders with Marseille in that building. Montpellier then hosts Clermont Foot. Currently, Montpellier a 3/4 goal favorite at home. All the juice on Clermont on the road. Over under is 2 3/4, juice to under. And I don't really trust Clermont at all to stay within a goal of Montpellier, or really anyone at the road at this point. And Montpellier are a offensive team that I've suddenly been playing a little bit better defense. I just find that the total is bigger than I made it. So I like under 2 3/4 there. It's pretty juiced at the moment, but I just don't really see Clermont contributing much on the scoreboard unless they're getting a penalty. And those are much less likely on the road, especially with how little of the ball they have. Lyon then hosts Lorient. Currently, Lyon a 3/4 goal favorite at home, almost all the juice. Over there's 2 3/4, almost juiced all the way. Lorient, they climbed to 1-goal underdog. Their defense has been pretty bad lately, unfortunately, and they're, I'm sure, looking to fix that, because they're a side that has to rely on their defending, and it's really not been a great start to the season. But Lyon haven't been scoring, and I think even at 3/4 goal, I'm still very interested in Lorient. They've been a team I've been backing pretty frequently, as I think anyone who's been following this podcast would know. But it's a little bit different for them on the road, but they kind of play the same way home and away, which is essentially sit back, sit deep, and try to counter. Maybe they don't have as much pace as they used to. They don't have Théo Malfi, who's now at Nice, but ultimately I just am also think it's a great idea to just play against Lyon as much as possible until they prove something, because they've got a long way to go and are still kind of getting priced like they're a good team. Stade Brestois then hosts Toulouse. Currently, Brest a 1/2-goal favorite at home with all the juice. Over under 2.5, juice to the under, almost all the way. Toulouse coming off a Europa League match will certainly be tested by a Brest side that has been flying in the league, like swimming maybe, because they're called the Pirates, so something nautical is probably more realistic. But they've been awesome. I'm not really looking to back Toulouse. They had a good performance last weekend, despite the market really not liking them at home against Metz. I think they're gonna have to prove it to me. I guess if anything, I like under 2.5, though I think Toulouse want to be an offensive side. I just wonder how that's going to work on the road in a situation where they're coming off potentially tired legs against a team that's been playing really well to start the year. I wonder if they might be a little more pragmatic, a little more defensive. As we keep going, and we've got 2 more in France, and then we'll do an ultimate best bet. We have Lens, a 1/4-goal favorite at home to Lille. Both coming off midweek matches. The Lens was a huge win, maybe the biggest of their history. Besides the PSG victory, was beating Arsenal. Lens a 1/4-goal favorite. Over under is 2.5, juice to the under, and slightly more juice on Lille right now on the road. I'm interested in Lille here because I think they are more talented than Lens. Lens lost a lot from last season and have that ultimate. I mean, the crowd will be behind them, and it'll probably inspire a much better effort than what we would expect from a team that just had potentially the biggest win in their lives, certainly for those players' lives, but maybe in club history. I just don't really like that scenario. Coming back from it, the crowd will probably be good, but it's always good. I think Lille getting a 1/4 goal, assuming I get the right players in, because they do potentially have a little bit more concern with fatigue, but that's the way I'd lean. And last but not least, Stade Rennais or Rennes, a 1/2 goal underdog at home to PSG. Great home team. They're getting a 1/2 goal at home. All the juice right now is on Rennes, but I like that side. Over under is 2 3/4, juice to under. And I think the total's really low. It makes me want to play over. I'm kind of surprised by that. I don't remember Mbappe getting injured on the road in Newcastle this weekend or this midweek, but he certainly would explain that total being below 3. I think it should be higher. Rennes certainly don't have the same offense as they did last season. I mean, as you see, Jeremy Doku scoring garbage time empty netters basically to crush spreads and +1s, unfortunately. Rennes don't have that this year, but they're still a really great home team. Bruno Genesio, their manager, is still in place. And I think PSG are going to struggle to score a lot this season. They've got a lot of pieces, but they haven't been playing together much. And of course, the expectations and weight of the world, or at least the weight of France and Abu Dhabi or Qatar, are still on the PSG shoulders. So Rennes getting half of a goal at home is very interesting to me. I like that for now. And for my ultimate best bet from France, I mean, there's a really nice spot to potentially go against Lille, struggling with somehow trying to handle the biggest, or for Lens trying to handle the biggest win of potentially the club history. But I'm going to go with Lorient getting a three quarters of a goal at Lyon. I think that's the best one to go for in France. So now it's the time for the ultimate best bet. Let me quickly set up my camera phone and get all this going so I can put something on YouTube and on a short out there, and then something on Instagram or reel or whatever the heck I'm doing. Anyway, okay, I think we're ready. Before that, if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave a 5-star review. It'd be really, really helpful. Thank you in advance. If you're on YouTube, hit subscribe. I think you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify as well. So why just do that? So you don't even have to search me. It just shows up on your phone automatically. And I think for each download that happens, I get a candy bar or something like that. Probably less. That's way too expensive in this world, in this economy. But if you're not a member of my Patreon, check it out. Patreon.com/real_G Warner. Best place to get all my stuff coming out as I do it, real time, right on your phone. It'll buzz or flash or whatever you want it to do right when I put something out there. So check that out. Patreon.com/real_G Warner. Also, some good news. Expect the college basketball podcast coming up from yours truly. I'm not sure if I'll be back with pregame again, maybe ever, not sure, but certainly a podcast side. We'll have something that I'll be putting together myself with a good friend of mine who's very into the Big East, and that'll be my next hint. And that's about where I'm going to stop there. But any feedback or thoughts, questions, concerns, topics, segments, anything like that you want me to cover, feel free to come in and shout your way in, and maybe we'll do something else. We're almost 51 minutes in, so I'm going to stop jabbering. Though you come here for that, and I'm going to go for the ultimate best bet portion of the show. This is the real_G Warner, the betting the pitch number 230, and here are my best bets from the top 5 European soccer leagues. In England, I'm going Burnley under 2.75 goals, so 2 3/4. Cadiz under 2.5 in La Liga. Verona under 2 1/4 in Italy. In Germany, we finally have a side. We go Wolfsburg getting half of a goal at Stuttgart, and last but not least, another side, Lorient, a 3/4 goal underdog on the road at Lyon. And for my ultimate best bet on this show, I'm going to go with Lorient getting 3/4 of a goal. Defense has not been good lately, but they will get better. I'm sure that's been a big focus for them in training this week. Plus, they're facing a Lyon side that are a previous giant in France that are really nowhere near it anymore. Mine still feels like they're getting a lot of respect. Lorient never get any, but Lyon getting too much based on their struggles this season. I don't think a third manager has really done too much to change things. So take Lorient getting 3/4 of a goal on the road at Lyon for my ultimate best bet on this Sunday, October 8th. And that'll do it for the episode. I need some water, but thank you for tuning in. Subscribe, follow, like, do all those sort of things. It'd be very helpful for me, my family that I don't have really, but eventual family and all that sort of stuff. And let's win some money this weekend. Thanks so much.